What's poppin', everybody? Welcome back into the Expired Popcorn Podcast, where we talk about the fresh and the forgotten in film and TV. My name is Stone, as always.
I'm Zach.
And today we are talking about Invincible, Season 2, which just finally wrapped up, last week?
Last Friday.
As you know, I binged it for our podcast. How was the wait for you? Mentally, were you able to be okay with waiting how many months, 3 or 4 months in between both parts?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people were upset, and a lot of people on Twitter specifically were like, the wait between part 1 and 2 for season 2 killed the hype and everything. And honestly, I don't think it killed the hype. I was pretty excited, but I don't think that they left us on such a major cliffhanger that it was unbearable to have to wait 3 or 4 months.
No, but it also seems like they didn't, because they didn't leave it on a cliffhanger. They also seems like they didn't plan for it to be splitting off the two parts. You know what I'm saying? When if there's a part one and part two, you expect to have some sort of
Yeah,
cliffhanger.
it felt it just felt like it ended on a normal episode cliffhanger because Invincible always ends on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, and then I guess episode four was pretty extreme, which
It
is a
was,
good
yeah.
one. Good one to leave off on. But yeah, binged it in 2 days. I'm pretty addicted to it. Not gonna
It's
lie.
not a hard
Um,
watch.
it's a pretty good show.
Yeah, it's quite enjoyable.
I think that just from my perspective, I think the season one is basically perfect. Honestly,
Yeah.
season two, we'll get into it. By the way, we're gonna do full spoilers for season two.
Yeah, full spoilers, so better have watched it.
Yeah, basically just break down every character and what they did during the season. I think it's the best way to go. But yeah, season two only has, in my opinion, one flaw. But then I talked about it on social media, and I was my opinion was changed, or my gripe was valid, but also they said just wait, kind of thing, because my issue was going to be solved in season three.
Yeah, I saw your video and I was like, I kind of feel the same way. Um, I'm just going to talk about it. The point you made was that Angstrom Levi should have been a bigger villain in season 2, and I have never read the comics or anything, so I shared your same opinion. I was like, oh yeah, he really should have, it felt like kind of such a waste because of what happens at the end of the season, and he only shows up in the first episode and the last episode of season 2.
Basically, he has little hints here and there, like season
Yeah.
three. There's probably 2 or 3 episodes where he's not in it at all. If I'm
Yeah,
remembering
he's not he's the major villain that's not really there ever. And then he gets
And
into a
then
giant.
supposedly he's in season three, or he's a huge part of the comics, and he's not dead at the end of the season, even though I clearly thought he was, and it appeared that he is. But I guess he's
Yeah,
a
so
very
in my love of spoilers, I then had to go do research on what the actual fuck, how did this man not die? So I now know everything about the comics.
I don't know why you do that. I don't know.
I just have to know because I need to know what to expect. I need to have expectations set. And I do my best to not ruin stuff for other people. I'm not telling you anything about what happens.
Yeah, people did, and honestly, it felt good though, because people are like, "Oh yeah, I totally get your gripe, but it'll make sense."
Yeah, and I feel like that's something that Invincible does really well, is somehow they have this giant cast of characters, and a lot of times they don't get utilized in every single episode other than Mark. Literally, other than Mark, nobody is utilized in every episode. But then they have these major story arcs where they're uber important. Even the most minor characters, in season 1, William, you're just oh, it's just the best friend, and then he's this major arc with his boyfriend in college getting turned into a Rihanna man.
Yeah, I would say that was my favorite part. Maybe my favorite moment of season two, which is wild to think about, was Cecil's butt Ed. What was his
Donald?
right hand man? Donald. Yeah, Donald, and then William's boyfriend, or yeah, William's boyfriend.
Yeah.
That little moment that they had.
Mm-hmm.
Not expecting that. Finishing season one, I would never have expected Donald to be a huge part of season two, because he wasn't a big part of season one at all.
Yeah.
I really like that a lot. One thing I did miss, I'll say, is I really liked the interesting storyline that, I mean, I didn't know anything going in, unlike you, with a lot of
I
stuff.
didn't know anything going into watching seasons 1 and 2.
Okay, okay. Well, I was gonna say I was really fascinated by the storyline between Robot and Monster Girl. I thought that was very interesting,
Mm-hmm.
and the Muller twins involved with it was very interesting. And then we got to season two, and it's kind of like they just go on a couple dates, and nothing really surprised me. They didn't have that much of a focus as in Amber and Mark, or as in Mark's mother, or even I feel like Rex Splode even had more of
Yeah.
like a sort of a character arc in this season than those two, but we'll see. It's kind of such a weird situation. What she is 24 and he is 30. They both look like children.
And she is in a 9-year-old's body, and he is in like a 11-year-old's body.
Yeah, something like that. Which is a younger version of Rex Explode, which is
Yeah.
just crazy. That's a very fun storyline and creative decisions that they've done. I'm assuming that's according to the comics.
Yeah.
But do you know who you know? I wonder if you know this, which you probably do. Do you know who the voice of Monster Girl is?
Oh,
You don't have to name her name, but she voices another very big character that we've talked about before on the podcast.
yes, I know who she is. I literally can't picture her, and I can't remember. Like, I know she's important. Like, I know she's like kind of a big person.
I would say the one thing that came to mind, I'm almost 105% sure that she's Azula. She has the exact. Let me click.
Yes.
Her name is Gray Griffin. Hold on.
Yes, it is. She used to be Grey Delisle. Yes, that's her. That's Azula.
What did you say? She used to be what?
Grey Delisle or something like that.
Like her name used to be that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, I'm just checking. Oh my goodness,
She
I don't need to check.
voices. You can't
This
look at
one.
her IMDb because
Oh my
it
gosh.
it's too big. Like, it's too extensive. She's like literally one of the biggest names in voice acting. Like, every single
Wow.
animated series you could ever think of, she voices somebody in it. I'm pretty sure she's in
Wow.
Adventure Time. She's in Teen Titans. I'm sure she voices somebody in like Family Guy or something. Like, literally every single animated TV series you could ever name, she's probably in. That's how big she is.
I would love to do some research on her. That's really fascinating. But I'm almost positive that she voices Azula. So that was like
Yeah.
that was a fun little tidbit. But what did you think about season two overall? Did anything stand out to you?
The one, I guess I had two gripes.
Ooh, okay,
I
okay.
had two gripes. One that was resolved because I was like, I read the comments on your video and then went and also did some research about Angstrom Levi. But my other
Okay.
gripe was like how tired the storyline between Mark and Amber was. Like, going into episode 4 and like the way it ends, it feels like their whole like will they won't they, like how do we have a relationship when you're a superhero thing was resolved. And even like into episode 5 it feels like it was resolved. And then you get to like midway through episode 5 going into 6 and 7, and they are still hashing out like how do we be in a relationship together when you're a superhero and I'm just a normie. And like, it's totally valid, but I just felt like the storyline kept repeating, and then the way it ends, like, I mean, I also, if I was Amber, I would have broken up with Mark too after having my neck almost snapped in half by a Viltrumite. But that just felt like a kind of a cop out finally, because there were so many other times where her life was also in danger, or like Mark's life was in danger, that they should have just broken up if that was the issue.
I low key like it. I low key think it kind of makes it more realistic, as in, it sucks, but we'll get through it. I know you're superheroes, do it. And then, okay, they've had that discussion, but then stuff continues to happen, and they're like, I don't know if I can actually do this. And that was the first time that her life was actually put in jeopardy. And I think that that's very important because obviously Mark's life's put in jeopardy a lot, but that doesn't matter because he's invincible and he'll be fine. But especially when not only is it her life put in jeopardy, but it's someone that Mark loves like that put in
Yeah.
jeopardy. I feel like that's where they're like, okay, we can't do this as much as we want to do it.
Yeah.
And then they have a little, which I like. I like it. I like that they carried out like for 2 seasons the whole storyline between Amber and Mark. I think has been really good. There is I saw someone comment on this, but in season 1, when she finds out that he's invincible and she says, "I've known it all along." Right before that, when the robot is like the cyborg thing, William's boyfriend is
Yeah.
terrorizing him, she sees Invincible fly off, and she's like, "Who was that?" And then all of a sudden, Mark comes back. But then right after that, she says, "No, I knew it was you the whole time," even though she says, "Who was that?" as he's falling off. Yeah, that was very funny.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that was like a good, almost like super hyper realistic thing to do, because like it's like you have like your intuition, but you're like, there's just no way, like it wouldn't make any sense, but like you like have your inklings about things like that when somebody's keeping a secret and then they tell you the secret and you're like, well, I had a feeling all along. That's like such like a real feeling to portray in a cartoon, which is nice.
Yeah, what did you think about Omni Man's interesting storyline?
I don't love redemption arcs for villains. Like,
Well, the thing is, he's not really.
he's not really a
I mean,
villain.
I would agree, but even in season one, he did horrible things, right? Obviously, he was the big bad villain, but then he wasn't at the end per se. He did everything except the one thing that would solidify him as a villain forever.
Yeah.
And then you knew there was some ounce of good in him. And then you have this storyline in season two, which I couldn't have predicted at all.
I mean, yeah, I didn't see this. I didn't know where I had. Again, I knew nothing going into seasons one and two. Between season one and two, I didn't read anything about Invincible either, and I still don't know where Norman Nolan's story is supposed to go. But my assumption is he's gonna sacrifice himself at some point to save Mark. Like that's kind of obvious. Um,
It seems like
and
he's like building an army
yeah,
a little bit.
with
Like he's
the
strategically having more kids that
yeah
are not full of Ultramite.
Yeah, that's I saw that somewhere on like Reddit or something, that like somebody was like posting a theory that he's impregnating people all across the universe to have an army of half Viltrumite children. But I don't know, like I guess
I
he
feel like that
is
would be
like
really
already
rough on
400 or 500 years old.
Yeah, I feel like that'd be really rough on Debbie too. Like she's trying to get over and she's
She
projecting
already
a
had
lunch.
to adopt his purple insect child.
I have like 150 of them out there. I think that would really push her over the edge.
I think so too. And also I don't know that like I don't even know that like having one a year for your 100 or for your 500 years is enough to take on the Viltrumites.
Yeah, I don't know. Those Viltrumites are so interesting, and then everything with Alan, the alien, was
I love
super.
Alan so much.
I wish he was in the show more.
Me
He was only
too.
in there for about a good 2 to 3 episodes, I would say.
Yeah, I mean I'm expecting he's going to be in there a lot more in season 3. That's someone else that I don't know anything about. I just know like the only things that I know are where the very ending and what happens to Mark mostly. But
Where did
like
we leave Mark? Where did we leave Mark off at? Okay, so I guess he killed Ingstrom Levy, and then he was struggling a bit. But then, is he done struggling? Like he's gotten okay with the fact that he did that.
no, not really.
He's just trying to mentally deal with it.
Yeah, like at the end of this season, he's still reeling, and so I'm guessing that's gonna be like the big plot point in season 3, and maybe I'm assuming he's gonna get into another big fight with somebody, probably a Viltrumite. I wonder if Anissa's gonna come back or something, um, and he's gonna like have to go berserk on her, and then
I
like
wonder how much Amber is
hesitate.
going to be in the show now that they're not together.
I
That's
don't
very.
know. I feel like she was
Yeah.
like such a big character to have built up to then just like toss to the side and not use anymore. So
But how do you? I mean, it makes sense that William's not really that big, but it makes sense that William is still someone in the show because
he's Mark's
he's the
roommate.
best friend. But now, if Adam Eve and Mark are going to possibly be something, how do you still keep Amber around? Also, one thing, just thinking off at the top of my head, that I was kind of disappointed by because I thought it was an interesting storyline, was the I'm trying to think street level crime lord rock guy that was in
The
season
rock
one.
guy. Oh,
Basically,
the one
he
that Adam Eve is
Mark
like
helped him.
fighting.
No, I don't think so.
Oh,
Mark
I'm thinking
helped
of the
him.
laser guy. Never mind.
You're good. You're good. Mark helped him, right? He had the mafia type boss who was a robot who kind of had like auto tune when he spoke,
I like
and
vaguely
he
remember this.
basically manipulated Mark. He said,
Yeah.
"Mark, I need your help," and Mark almost died, and everyone almost died trying to defeat this robot mafia guy. And afterwards, you find out that the rock. That's the only thing I can think of. He was a black guy, but then he could like form rock on his body, and he
Oh
actually
yeah.
became. Yeah, he actually became the new crime lord of the street level
Yeah.
stuff that's going on. So I thought he was going to be in season 2 somewhat, but he was in season 2 at all. I think the very end they teased him, but he wasn't in the season at all. Speaking of which, the Mahler twins. Very disappointed that they weren't in the show more.
Are they dead? I don't remember. Like,
They're not
they're
dead,
not dead, right?
but
One of them's still alive.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't think there's two of them now. I think
There's
they
just the
automatically knew.
one because
They
he,
automatically knew which clone was
yeah,
which was the.
because fucked up face.
Yeah, and so that was pretty funny. I really like them. Like I said, they're maybe under Alan and Omni-Man. They're like my favorite characters because whatever they do is just really interesting to me.
They're all, yeah, no, they're always doing something.
And the show opened with them too.
Yeah. I think that they have a really nice running gag that I wonder how they're gonna like continue it because now like they know who the original is.
Yeah, I think it was kind of cool how they elevated people who you didn't think were going to be a big deal in the season, like the Lizard Gang.
Yeah, the Lizard League
That was
and even
fun.
like Duplicate and stuff.
What's that one guy's name who Duplicate and him got together? I forgot his
Immortal.
name. Immortal. That was very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily love that they kept Immortal alive.
I mean, it makes
Because
sense. He's the immortal. Like,
he is immortal. Yeah,
you
I guess
can't
he
really
screws
kill
him.
him.
Yeah, that was a storyline that I wasn't expecting. But the whole thing with the Lizard Gang like wiping them all out, and then at the end, in the end, none of them died. Which, because I was watching that, I think I was watching that with my wife, and I was shocked because nobody dies. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, I thought all three of them were gonna die, but then all three of them still live.
Yeah, when Duplicate died, I was like, oh, okay, so we are just gonna kill the Guardians of the Globe a second time. How lovely. Um, and
I guess
then
that was a badass move. How she was trying to grow inside of that guy, and he swallowed her, like he forced her back in. I thought that was cool, but then again, like I said, she still didn't die.
yeah, she still didn't die, luckily. Like, good job, I guess. But then Rex getting shot in the head and surviving. But like I was watching this live, so I watched the episode and then had to wait a week to find out that Rex didn't actually die.
Oh,
And
that's
he
where the
gets,
episode ended. Wow.
yeah, and then he gets up and like fights and everything. Yeah, that was crazy. But that's like the show having like crazy endings like that like resolve themselves in the first 5 minutes of the next episode is why I, for seasons 1 and 2, did not look anything up about the show. And really the only thing I looked up about season, like anything onward, was about Amanda because I was curious about her curse. Monster Girl.
That's Mr.
Yeah.
Girl. Okay.
Like I couldn't remember how she was, like why she's a monster and like where that go. Like I didn't know where that was gonna go. Because I saw somebody say on Twitter that she becomes important.
Interesting. I'd say one thing I really liked too was, like I said, I really liked how much time they took with Amber and Mark's relationship. Even if, yeah, I would say they said, "Oh, we can't do this thing," and then they did it, and then they ended up not doing it. Like I said, I think it works because her life was threatened. I think
Yeah.
that's the one thing that pushes them over the
It
edge.
just
But I
should have
really liked
happened a
how-
little sooner.
Yeah, I admit, and maybe a little bit more time between Adam, Eve, and Mark.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of a cheap how her future Adam Eve told him straight up, was like, "Yo, I got feelings for you." I'm like, okay,
Yes
sure.
and no, because I don't think that Mark ever would have done anything, and like clearly he had feelings for her from from first meeting her, and like they went to the same high school even before he knew he was a hero or like knew he had powers. So like he clearly liked her for forever. Like they're destined to be together. But like,
2
yeah,
seasons though. That's pretty impressive that they waited 2 seasons. We'll see
2
if they get together in
seasons.
season 3. Who knows?
I'm assuming they will be. Like I just don't see how else. Like what is Mark gonna do?
I don't know. But I liked how much time they took with Debbie. How she went to the like AA meeting for different heroes.
Yes,
I really enjoyed that.
I loved every plot line with Debbie. I
It was
also just
really
really love Sandra Oh.
Yeah, it's cool. Sandra O's in this. She is a big favorite of mine. Me and Leah. Leah's favorite movie is Princess Diaries, and she plays the principal in Princess
Yeah.
Diaries.
Gupta.
Gupta. Yeah. But I thought, oh man, it was such a chilling scene where you thought that the guy was going to be nice to her because she admitted what her husband did to his wife
Yeah.
at the bar, and then he just goes, "No, I don't
You
think you
should
should come
leave.
back."
You should never
Oh
come
my
back. As if
goodness.
it's her fault. I felt so bad for her.
That's good though. That's good
That
writing.
is no, like this show is so well written, and like honestly, as hyped as the show is, I still think it's underrated.
I would agree.
I
I would
don't
agree
think
partly.
enough people watch the show. Like it should have a way bigger fan base. Like more people should be invested in this. It's just so well written because
Yeah, I
things
think
from like episode 1 are still paying off.
it's crazy how they yeah, it's crazy how they put those little details. I was kind of scared about that, but they used to like the whole thing with Mars and the whole thing with the guy who dropped down Mount Rushmore and created lava monsters. They have all these like little tiny plot points that they put in season one that kind of get carried on a little bit more in season two.
Yeah.
So I was worried about that going into season two because they teased all that stuff. I was like, I thought everyone was dead. I thought everyone was done, starting fresh. But then they worked those, even the whole thing with the guy who was part of the, what do they call it? The not the Justice League. What's their thing called?
Guardians of the Globe.
Sure, Guardians of the Globe. The guy who's the fish, and he died, and then Mark had to go down there and face
Yeah.
marry his wife or whatever. I thought that was really interesting too. That I wasn't expecting. But they did really well with all those the hive mind alien things coming from Mars was really cool.
Mhm.
And but yeah, I thought they did a really well job carrying on all those small plot points from season one into season two.
Yeah, there's just so much, and I'm like very interested to see what storylines are going to continue to play out that were set up in season 1.
You know what's like an interesting character who is in the show, all of it, and a lot in the show, but unlike everyone who has their own little storyline, he doesn't necessarily get one, and that is Cecil. He's kind of just
Yeah.
been there. He hasn't really changed, I would say, as a character. He seems like a good guy who's just more realistic about everything.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel like we're not going to get like any backstory on Cecil. And like I'm very curious like what's up with his mouth. Also, does he have powers, or is this technology that he uses to teleport places, and why can't he use this? Like if it is technology, why can't he use it to like when Mark was fighting.
it's technology. It's not. It's technology.
Well, that okay, so that's what I thought. I was like, oh, he has technology this whole time. But then when Mark is fighting Anissa and he's like, we're never gonna be able to get heroes to that battle quick enough to save these people. Like, why couldn't he have used the technology if it was technology?
I can't remember. It was difficult because that became a huge plot point at the end of season one when Omni Man and Mark were fighting, and he was trying to like teleport in to try to talk to Omni Man to stall him, stuff like that. They kind of dealt with how it's a little bit difficult to teleport different people, and they don't have a lot of that technology. It's mostly just for him, kind of thing.
Oh, okay. I guess I
Yeah,
just didn't remember any of that.
yeah. That just reminds me of the Titan monster thing that they fought at the end of season one, which was super cool. So what we ended with Immortal and Duplicate. I'm just looking through all the characters right now. Immortal and Duplicate are kind of out of the Guardians of the Globe now,
Yeah, they're
right?
retiring.
Because they think Duplicate's dead,
Yeah.
and then Immortal's just like, I'm done with this kind of thing.
Oh, one thing I think that they mentioned this in the show at some point, but she has a twin brother
Duplicate?
named Multi Paul.
Dude, I don't like that. That doesn't work as well. Oh wait, does it?
Multiple.
Multi-pole. Okay, that does work. Never mind.
Multi Paul. Yeah,
That's
it's
pretty good.
Paul and Kate. I didn't know
That's
that. And
pretty good.
he's evil.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he's a villain. I think we've
Maybe
seen
he'll.
him actually, like very briefly in a jail cell. Probably
Interesting. I
at
wonder.
like the Pentagon or whatever.
I can see them maybe bringing him up, and then that's how they show the crew that Duplicate is still alive. Maybe.
Yeah.
Another person that we haven't talked about whose storyline's really interesting and more realistic for if any of this was real is Adam Eve with her whole trying to help everybody. And there's a reason you might not be able to help everybody. Like the whole thing with she tries to make that playground in the city, but then
And
all of
then
a
it
sudden
like a sinkhole and nothing was up to code and people got hurt and she beat
it's like
herself up over it.
the interesting predicament of like she can create anything for her parents, but her parents still want to work for themselves, kind of thing. I think
Yeah.
that's probably very relatable in current, current times or a real world because there's probably so many people who have family members who are wealthy who are like, I can just give you money, but they're like, no, I want to do it myself, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I thought her, that was a very interesting. They didn't do too much with it, but they did just enough with it, I think.
Yeah. Did you watch the Adam Eve special episode?
No, how is that? Have you watched it?
I have. It's actually really cool, and I hope they do more
Of like
backstory
everyone?
of like other characters because like there's so many characters that you don't know like the backstory of unless they explain it in the show like very briefly and you remember it, or they like don't do it at all. Like with Monster Girl and Duplicate, I didn't know how either of them got their powers, but both of them are cursed. That's how they have their powers.
Interesting.
And then Rex has his powers because he's like a genetic experiment. Like, yeah. I don't
What
want
is
to
his
tell.
powers? Wait,
He
no. Rex didn't have any powers, but now he just had like he was like good at acrobats and throwing explosions, but now that he
no
got what is he
Rex.
what's
Rex had no powers. He was just like a naturally gifted kid at like just sports and stuff, and like he had a special like he basically had like an X gene, but like it was like untapped. It wasn't activated. And so like Cecil saw potential in him and bought him from his parents to then turn him into an acrobat kid with powers. And so they did like genetic experiments on him when he was a kid, trained him to be a superhero. And so his powers are literally just like grab any item and turn it into an explosive.
interesting. So he
Yeah.
doesn't produce I was gonna say, does he just like pop the
That's
explosive out of
no, I
himself?
that's why I like I
Now he
had to
does. Now he does because he got
yeah,
his arm cut
now he
off.
does because he has his arm. But yeah, like
Yeah.
I had to like go and do a deep dive on everybody's powers because I just like was not understanding anyone's powers after the Adam Eve special. Because they explain how she gets her
So
powers and how she exists.
okay, so that's only how does she get her powers? You can teach me.
She
I guess I can watch
You
it,
could
but
watch, but she also was like a genetic experiment, but at birth, like while she was in the womb. Like her parents aren't her birth parents. But they don't know that. I think.
interesting.
Well, they didn't know that until the Adam Eve special, which is takes place when she's like 13. But yeah,
But the whole special itself isn't when she's at 18 or 13, right?
the whole special is a prequel to Invincible.
Interesting. So when did
Yeah.
they come out with this? Did they come out with it between season one and
Yeah,
season
between
two?
season 1 and 2, it came out maybe like a few months before season 2.
Okay. That's smart by them. They might do that. That'd be a fun thing for them to do is like do one episode in between each season just to hold over the fans just a little bit kind of thing.
Yeah, it was a like it felt so random to have done it, but it really adds to the story and it makes it feel okay that Adam Eve isn't as big of a character in season 2 as like you would have thought she would have been, because you get a whole hour episode dedicated to her and her backstory.
Yeah.
But yeah, you should watch it. It was really cool.
I say it's about the same length as a regular episode.
Yeah,
Right?
it's
Just like an hour.
it's like a normal episode.
I keep on forgetting. They also had this one guy who's randomly part of their crew now, Black Samson. No, he's been there since the beginning. He doesn't really do much.
No. I don't even know what his powers are really.
His suit gives him powers.
Of course.
And then they have the other new guy that they added with Immortal.
The guy that looks like he should run fast, but because he has goggles, but
Yeah,
I don't think that's his power.
Yeah, it's very interesting that they've added people, but they did, like I said, I really like that they added Immortal. more characterization to him,
Mm-hmm.
and with him and Duplicate. But yeah, Black Samson and I'm trying to figure out what this other guy's name is, but they haven't done
I
anything
don't
for them.
remember his name at all.
Well, there's a reason why. It's not our fault. Even though we're doing a podcast on the show, it's not our fault. We remember everybody else's name.
Yeah, I mean, the other guy, yeah, I don't know. I can literally name some of the other, like the original Guardians of the Globe, but I could not tell you that guy's name.
Yeah, but it was funny. They have the side plot of that alien who came from Mars,
Yeah, that was
and
a fun
everything.
that was fun.
I was gonna
And a
carry
nice
over.
like payoff from season one.
But yeah, I think yeah, season two was really good. I thought everybody who they tried to focus on with their characterization, I thought they did a very good job. I didn't expect them to do. I didn't expect them to have tons of focus on Debbie. I didn't expect them to have as much focus on Mark and Amber's relationship, even though that should kind of be a given. I thought it was going to end a lot sooner, like you
Me
said.
too. I thought it was gonna end in the first half of the season.
Like I said, it took Amber actually getting threatened to her for her to come to her senses.
But like honestly though, good for her. Like she really truly loved Mark, and she was gonna stick it out until her
Look at this
life was
turnaround.
threatened.
Look at this turnaround. Look what you thought now. Your mind has
I,
changed.
I mean, no, like I wish that she would have been able to come to that conclusion sooner. Still, I wish that
Oh,
it wasn't like a drawn out for 7 episodes thing. But good for her though for sticking it out for as long as she did, because she could have cut and run the minute she found out Mark was invincible.
I have one question to ask you. What did you think about the cameos in the last episode?
The cameos.
As in the old Spider-Man and the old Batman.
Oh, I was
I
reading about those, um, and I thought they were kind of funny because like I'm pretty sure they're actually in the comic. Like Spider-Man and Batman, they have crossovers with them.
Interesting.
So like,
I'm assuming they can't. Amazon does not own the rights to them, so they can't, even though it's in the comics.
yeah, even though it's in the
Yeah.
comics, but
I
yeah,
just I have an issue. I might speak on this, elaborate it further. I don't know, do some research on it, but I don't like cameos per se because I saw someone who's really into Invincible, and talked about every episode when they got released, and they said, "Okay, episode 8, let's get into it." First off, Spider-Man, Batman. Oh, I'm like, when you put cameos in it, you automatically diminish anything I think with a show. That's what people are going to be talking about.
it takes
Episode
away
8, right?
from the story. It takes away from the like
Right.
main focus.
Yeah, like nobody remembers. It depends on the story. If your story is really good, but then it also depends on the cameo. Like I'm thinking of the Marvels, where nobody really talked about the Marvels, but they talked about Beast at the end. And they like seeing Beast at the end, and the X-Men that are at the end of that movie at the post-credit scene. The only thing I could compare it to is something we talked about. It's very different material, film and TV wise, but is Anya Taylor-Joy in Dune Part Two. I would say that she's kind of a cameo, and
Yeah,
people did talk about her, but when they addressed that film, that's not the first thing they talked about.
yeah. I guess that yeah, it's similar, but it's still mostly different because like she's
It's a gripe
in
I have.
yeah.
I
I
don't think a lot
think
of people. It
that
doesn't bother a lot.
I think the Batman one was better than the Spider-Man one because you don't see Batman. You just see him making fun of Batman, and I'm more okay with cameos like that. Or I'd rather just have like a whole episode that is the two of them working together type of thing. Like it needs to be one or the other. Like either you like it's just implied that this is who the cameo is, or it's full on episode focused on that character and how they're working with the main plot. The Spider-Man one, I feel like they just shouldn't have done it because they couldn't get the rights to actual Spider-Man. So like, and then we like also at one point Mark is like, which one of you is the good guy, which one of you is the bad guy, and like I couldn't tell either. Because this is kind of into the topic of Young Justice.
Okay.
God damn it, I forgot where I was going with that for a second.
You talk about Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah, in Young Justice, there's a character that's called Black Spider, I think is his name. And I don't know if he shows up in season 1 or 2. But he's a Spider-Man parody, and I think he was technically actually before Spider-Man. I
Yeah,
might be
I
wrong, but he is a comic character from DC, and he is a villain. But he
I
has
think
all the same powers as Spider-Man.
yeah, I think I'm very alone in thinking about cameos ruining this stuff because I feel like the people who make this show know who their demographic is.
Yeah.
And it's people who watch comic book movies, either
Yes.
Marvel or DC. So when they watch it, they get a little bit giddy, but that is the first thing they're going to be talking about. But it just so happens that these cameos are, in fact, also in a very good show. So that pays off.
Yeah.
But I just think that that's the first thing. There's so much that happens in this last season, or the season 2. So I was like, don't talk about that first. There's a lot more that you should be
There's
talking
so
about, kind of
much
thing. But
more
I'm
that's so
allowed.
much more important. I at least they waited until the last episode to do any cameos,
Yeah,
because
very
then
much so.
everybody had 7 episodes to talk about before they saw Batman and Spider-Man.
True, and but that also made me think: is this because Angstrom Levy died, or I thought he was dead for good? That made me think: is this the only reason why Angstrom Levy is in this movie? Is to be a multiverse person and to bring in characters and stuff like that. So that's where my mind automatically goes because I'm such a what is that, a narcissist? So I always look at the bad side of things
A
rather than ooh, fun
pessimist,
Spider-Man. Yeah.
not a
Uh,
narcissist, a pessimist.
Speaking of, what do you say, Black Spider? Is that who's
I
in
think
Young
that's his
Justice?
name. Let me look. Black Spider, Young
So
Justice.
today, for our forgotten segment of the episode, we are speaking on another superhero show that is an absolute favorite of Zach's.
It is literally my favorite show of all time. I've literally watched it since 2010 when it premiered. It's Young Justice, and if you haven't heard of Young Justice, it follows the story of the teen sidekicks of the Justice League as a covert ops branch of the Justice League, taking on villains and everything from the shadows from behind, just like going in on these missions, and also all the like drama that goes on with teenagers mixed in with that. It's like Teen Titans but darker.
It's very good. I got through the first season, and there's lots of twists and turns. You're not going to really be able to predict what's going to happen in the show. It keeps you on your toes, kind of thing. I thought the animation was really good too. For at least I think it came out 2010. It looks pretty good
Yeah.
for coming out 2010. I really don't because it's 2D animation, so it's hard to. I don't necessarily know how much 2D animation can be improved on, but comparing it to Invincible, it wasn't that big of a difference. I would say.
No, it's the animation. It like that. This was like the animation for Young Justice is very like reminiscent of the 2010s because it like everything in that time period was this like almost more realistic, like trying to be like hyper realistic animated still. It looks like Voltron and Legend of Korra style line art. Um, and then
Yeah,
like all of the DC animated universe movies are animated in the same style as Young Justice.
yeah. Did you know that Jesse McCartney played Dick
I
Grayson?
literally yes. I did. Uh
I was just looking at it right now. I was like, what in the world?
it actually has like there's actually like quite a few people that like randomly voice like in The Walking Dead. Did I don't know if you've watched The Walking Dead. But the guy who
Jesse,
voices
Jesse McCartney's in The Walking Dead.
no. There's King Ezekiel voices Aqualad in Young Justice. Um
Oh, okay, I got you.
yeah. But this
Oh, Jesse McCartney is in the Fear the Walking Dead show.
oh, I
He's been in a lot of stuff.
who
I'm
is
just going
Jesse
on a little
McCartney
tangent here.
in Fear the Walking Dead?
I don't know. He is looks like 2016. He plays a character called Reed. I don't know, but that's pretty fascinating.
That's
He's been actually in
funny.
a lot of stuff.
I had no idea. That's crazy.
But yeah, there's 4 seasons, right? There of
There's
Young
four
Justice.
seasons, and
We're recommending the show to you all. If you like Invincible, you'll like Young Justice.
yes, especially the last. I think if you like the style of writing and the style of like adult animation with Invincible, you'll like the last 2 seasons of Young Justice, because they're way more adult because they're on a streaming service now, because in 2013 the show was canceled, unfortunately, by Cartoon Network.
Okay, so it's Cartoon Network 2 seasons, and then it got picked up by like HBO Max.
Yeah, so I made a video about this forever ago, but the history of Young Justice is a lot of kids' cartoons, especially like way back when, are or were funded through toy sales. So if your show wasn't selling toys, you weren't going to have a production budget and you were essentially going to get canceled. It had literally nothing to do with viewership. It like strictly was based on toy sales, and Young Justice like just wasn't selling toys. So then it got canceled after 2 seasons, and then fans of the show like myself and everybody else that was my age, and all the other adults that liked the show when it got canceled, rioted for 6 years. And then the show got put on Netflix in like 2017 or something, and we binged it for 2 years. And in 2019, the show was finally announced to be coming back for a third season at San Diego Comic-Con. And then the third season premiered a year later or something like that. So I cover canceled TV shows on my TikTok page, and this is a success story for a canceled show. So if you have a canceled show, don't ever think that you can't bring it back, because you can if you rally enough troops.
How was the because that's a lot of years. So what, it got canceled in 2013, and then when was the third season released?
The third season, I think, was either 2019 or 2020. Like, it was a 6 or 7 year wait.
Can you tell that it's different? Does it look different?
The animation style is ever so slightly different.
Better?
It's better. Like, it's more polished because it's 6 to 7 years later. All the voice actors came back, though. Every single cast member from seasons 1 and 2 returns for seasons 3 and 4, which is really cool. And I'm trying to think of like what else. The writers and creators came back.
That's insane that happened, to be honest. That's kind of a cool story.
It is. Like, it was such a deserved renewal and like reboot or continuation. It needed to happen.
That's cool though. I mean, can't even think of a show off the top of my head. I mean, you just talked about Mindhunter, but I think people petition for it to happen, but it doesn't happen that often.
No, like the only other times that I can think of it are like Veronica Mars. It came back for a fourth season, I think, because Hulu brought it back. So, and it wasn't like a reboot with new cast. It was Kristen Bell. I almost said Stewart. It was Kristen Bell reprising her role as Veronica Mars. I'm trying to think of another time that happened. 90210 came back for 90210 P or BH or something in like 2019.
What was that show on NBC about the plane that Netflix picked up and they did more seasons for?
Manifest.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, but that was a show being saved from cancellation. Like,
okay,
revivals are so much more difficult because like basically when a show is canceled, you have like a designated amount of time to be picked up by another network before all the contracts are released, and your show's contract basically gets put into a vault, and then you have to go through a bunch more legal hoops in order to get your show out of said vault from whatever network.
So Netflix saved Manifest before it got to the vault.
Yeah,
situation.
Essentially. But like, it's Young Justice is honestly even crazier because it wasn't like another network picked it up. It was Warner Bros. Warner Bros owns Cartoon Network. They canceled it. Warner Bros owned the DC Universe app, and they own HBO Max/Max, and brought the show back. They were like, oh yeah, there's enough people that want this. We're gonna bring it back.
Well, man, I'm happy that happened because, like we said, it does not happen a whole
It doesn't. But I want to know about what where are you with the plot? Who's your favorite character? Um, what's your favorite thing so far?
Well, I think I talked about it. Everything with Doctor Fate is super cool. We spoke on it. So Doctor Fate, what's episode does he pop up
I
in?
think like episode
Um,
11 or something when
yeah,
Zatanna joins the team.
and there's like I can't remember his name, but basically Doctor Fate is his own being type
Yeah,
of thing who can take control of the suit. And I can't remember who. Somebody got out of the suit.
Kent
It wasn't
Nelson.
possessed. Yeah, it wasn't possessed by him, but now someone else is possessed by him. There's so many people in the Young Justice.
Yeah. So Kent Nelson is the original Doctor Fate, if you will.
How many
Um,
times have you watched Young Justice? Do you like rewatch it?
all the time.
Gosh, I'm terrible with names, though. I'm trying to look up everyone right now. But
Um,
how many times do you think you've gone through Young Justice?
seasons 1 and 2 probably like 10-ish times. Seasons 3 and 4 way less, just because they're so
10?
much newer.
10 times? That's not a easy task.
Okay, well, I don't want to like give you a spoiler, but like my favorite character is Wally West,
Okay.
and he's super relevant in seasons 1, partly
Okay.
2. So like I rewatch it for him.
Okay, that makes sense. I say I do. Who do I like?
I
I like the whole
also
plot line. I like the whole plot line with Superboy. I think that's
yes,
very
like I also
interesting.
really like so like the team in seasons 2, 3, and 4 grows a lot. Like it is no
Mhm.
longer just like the core 6 of them. Like it's not just Superboy,
I can kind of
Artemis.
see that happening.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
they more sidekicks come in, more teenage heroes come in. They start having branch teams of the team. So like it gets jumbled a lot. So I really like being able to just go back to season 1 and watch the core 6 and like see them go on their missions. And one of my favorite, do you finish season 1, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My favorite episode in season 1 is the one where McGann has to put them under or like into the dream sequence essentially, and
Mhm.
they have to go on that mission because the Justice League was eliminated. That's my favorite episode. Like I just think that's such a well done episode, and like the stuff
I'm
from
trying to think
that,
which you probably know which episode. Which episode was that?
it's like 19 or 20.
Okay, I say I'm trying to look at it right here.
It's like really late. But like the stuff from that is still playing out into seasons like 2 and 3. Like their
Really?
feelings about it.
That's really, especially if it's season 3 because of the whole cancellation and everything. Like
Yeah,
they didn't miss a beat. They didn't miss a beat, kind of thing.
they don't. And there's a 5-year time skip going into season 2.
Oh, I remember you telling me that. Okay, so going into season 2, there's a 5 minute time skip from season 1.
Yeah. And then
Okay,
going into season,
there's more time skips, right?
yeah, so I think from seasons 1 to 4 it's like a total of 10 years. Um
Okay.
like time skip wise, because I think the time
Do they
skip,
tell you that, or do you just
yeah,
like? Okay.
they tell you, like you see the like the time codes and everything and the dates. um and also like season 1 to 2 time skip is very obvious because Robin is 13 and then all of a sudden he's big and buff and an
Oh,
adult.
nice. Yes. The animation really helps you understand
Yes.
at the time.
Yeah,
Too.
you're like, okay, this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but it is. I mean, I'm trying to think how long. So 25 minutes per episode, and there are 26 episodes. So that's about 7 hours
Yeah.
content. So it's about the same as Invincible. I mean, if you really think about it, a little bit less. I mean, you got 8 episodes of Invincible. I mean, that's for every. It's basically the culmination of every not network, but streaming show right now. Just like 8 episodes an hour each, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So just differently formatted. Is there as many episodes in season 3 and 4?
Season,
Or do
yeah,
they?
season 3 and 4 are 26 episodes apiece.
Wow, they really just didn't miss.
They don't
the
miss,
exact
like,
same show kind.
yeah, like they came back and they were like, we're gonna do this.
I don't think we talked about this. There's not a season 5 guaranteed. It's kind of just like up in the air.
Yeah, so this is exactly like what happened with season 2. or like after season 2 for like a year, it was like in a limbo phase. We've been in a limbo phase of post season 4 for like 2 years now. But like there's been no news of it being canceled. There's been no news of it being renewed, but I follow the creator of the show on Twitter and he's like regularly providing updates. People always are like, do we have a cancellation? Do we have a renewal? And he's like, I haven't heard anything. So your guess is as good as mine. We're not canceled and we're not renewed. If you want us to be renewed, just keep streaming the show.
Why is it still toys or no?
No, it's not based on toys. It is based on viewership. But like it's consistently one of HBO Max or one of Max's like top 10 shows.
Really? How'd you find that out?
Twitter, right? The Young Justice fandom on Twitter is like very passionate.
Oh, they find out stuff.
Yeah, like it.
If anybody gets into the show, you can follow the Young
If
Justice.
yeah, if it falls out of the top 10, like the fandom comes back and is like, oh, time to start streaming again.
So there's like a huge fandom for this show.
Yeah, it's like it's crazy that it's not renewed. Like it's a big enough fandom that James Gunn has literally said that he looks to Young Justice as an example of how to write the DC universe of movies.
Man, I thought that show was good, but I really underestimated it through talking to you about it. See, this is exactly why I was like, you could take the floor when it comes to Young Justice.
Yeah,
so, you know the ins and outs of it.
It's again like it's literally my favorite show of all time. It's just so well written, and it's funny because the only reason I watched the show was because I saw some promo for it after like an episode of Ben 10, and then I saw another promo for it after an episode of Spectacular Spider-Man. I don't know if you remember that show at all. It was.
I remember it. I didn't watch it.
Okay, yeah, it was like on Kids WB or whatever. But the creator of Spectacular Spider-Man is the creator of Young Justice.
Oh,
and he's also the creator of Gargoyles.
Jeez. So
yeah.
This is the same guy you follow on Twitter?
Yeah.
So is he making any new shows now?
I don't know what is.
I mean, having that resume, I feel like he would be desirable in the studio space kind of thing.
You would think, but being an animation writer and being a writer for like live action TV is very different. It's not the same amount of respect.
I'm surprised that he's not like, at least, no, I guess Invincible. We're talking about Invincible, but Invincible's Amazon, so there's no crossover there.
Yeah.
Really. But I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at Max's top 10 series, and Young Justice isn't on there. So
well, the fandom's gonna come back and put it up there.
You gotta get on your fandom. You gotta let them know.
Yep, gotta let them know that Young Justice fell out the top 10.
So it's called. So is this season called The Phantoms?
Yeah, so that's the other thing about each season is there's essentially a theme, a tagline to it. Except season 1, of course, because it's just Young Justice. There's also tie-in comics and a tie-in video game that explain some of the stuff that happens between seasons, like during the time skips, which is cool.
Oh, that's very interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
And you read all that?
I have never played the game, but I read the plot of the game. And I've...
Chopper.
Well, the game was like really hard to get access to. Like it wasn't an easy thing.
Okay.
But the comics I've read, they're actually like really interesting because I think that there's only comics between season 2 and 3 and 3 and 4. The game takes place between 1 and 2.
Oh, so they basically cover all.
Yeah, they basically cover everything. There's comics post season 4 also.
So if anybody gets into this, you will be taken care of because it seems like there isn't a new season, unfortunately, in the works at least, but they cover their bases really well and everyone's really passionate about the show.
Very passionate. I think when you finish season 2, you'll realize like why.
Yeah, you're gonna be on me about that.
When you have to let me know when you finish season 2 though.
Okay.
Because season 2, just imagine the pain when you finish it of having to wait 7 years to see what happens next because it ends on a major cliffhanger.
Star-Crossed Part 3. We got 3 episodes. Oh geez. I'm not going to read anything. That would be a you thing to do, is to read the whole plot, but I'm not going to do that.
Well, you
So yeah,
can.
no. Yeah, guys, check out Young Justice. Zach's favorite show of all time.
All time favorite
Um,
show. I love animation.
do you think that Invincible can ever get on that level for you, or is it always just going to be Young Justice?
Um,
What is it? What does Invincible have to do to get to the level of Young Justice for you?
I don't know.
Not much.
I don't really have like a like I don't know. Like I can't tell you why Young Justice is my favorite show
It just
without
fits.
spoiling
Oh, okay.
what happens in season 2 and 3.
Okay.
But when you if Young Justice does something similar, I just don't have like there's just not a thing that they have that they could do that with. Um but
You
yeah.
don't know. They might surprise you.
No,
Invincible might
it
surprise
could
you.
absolutely surprise me. Like I think right now Invincible probably is like my favorite animated show that's like currently on.
Yeah, mine too, definitely. I'm gonna say. Little segue here, but we talked about Cecil for a little bit, and Cecil is voiced by Walton Goggins, which Walton Goggins is going to pop up on our next episode as well, because we're going to be talking about Fallout, which you haven't started yet.
No, I have not started, but I will.
I've got to tell you, I'll just say the first 30 minutes. So every episode's pretty long, just to forewarn you. First 30 minutes are masterful, very good, very good. I was hooked kind of right away. I don't know if you know this, you might know this, but it follows 3 different plot points. So that's
Interesting.
something.
But
Yeah,
they're
that's
all
something.
post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, it's all basically people in the Fallout world, just in different settings in the Fallout world.
Okay.
Like Walton Goggins is one of them. There's a woman, and then like a soldier type guy.
Mm-hmm.
So it follows there's 3 different storylines. But yeah, he was in American Ultra, which we've talked about. He was in Invincible, and now he's in Fallout. So we cannot get away from Walton Goggins, which I'm happy about, because I feel like he's a very underrated actor who always adds anything that he's adds to anything he's in. He's never bad ever in a performance, but
Yeah, I mean I really liked him in American Ultra. He was funny.
yeah, we need more time with him. But yeah, so that's what we're talking about next week. So stay tuned for that. Go ahead and watch Young Justice, campaign for it.
Campaign for it to be renewed for season 5, please.
Get it back into the top 10.
Like actually though.
Go to Twitter. Invincible. We don't have to wait maybe that long for Invincible season 3. Supposedly it's already done somewhere.
Yeah, it was. I'm assuming that we're actually gonna get a renewal for seasons 4 and 5 relatively soon.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I imagine it'll run for 6 seasons.
All right.
Because there's I think that they cover like 10 issues of comic in each season, and there's only 60-ish issues.
Interesting.
Or volumes.
You don't know
however.
the entire Invincible. You don't know the entire Invincible storyline, do you?
No, I literally only know like the start and the end. But like it's very clear where it's going. Like we know that they're going to war with Viltrumites at some point.
You can stop.
No, like that's it. That's all I'm telling you. Like
Okay.
that's where that was the start and that's the end. Like I don't know all the in between stuff. I just know how people get their powers.
All right, I believe you. But yeah, go ahead and watch Invincible if you guys haven't watched it yet. Very good season. Young Justice, very good 4 seasons.
Amazing 4 seasons.
I only got the 1. But
I hope
favorite season. Favorite season out of the 4 seasons is season 2, probably.
Yeah, unfortunately. It's the shortest one, and like
the big cliffhanger.
The cliffhanger.
All right, I'll try to get on it as soon as I can. 7 hours. I gotta watch Fallout.
Well,
for our next
season 2 is only 20 episodes.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Interesting. I didn't see that. Okay, that's not bad. But yeah, I'll have to watch that after Fallout.
Yeah, after Fallout. Well, now you can just watch Young Justice at your leisure.
Yeah, very true. Which I'm excited to do. Kind of just put it on the background, kind of thing.
You could do a whole. I just started watching My Hero Academia, so a new like thing that my boyfriend told me I should do for TikTok is make videos talking about my experience watching the show for the first time, because people love content like that apparently.
Yeah.
So you could do that with
So-
Young Justice.
I'll try it. I'll try it.
There's a
See if I can
content idea for you, just like a video a week talking about how many episodes you watched and what you watched and what you liked.
tap into the Young Justice fan base.
My Young Justice video only made it to like 2,000 views or something, and then a month later it was at almost 100,000. So
that's because the fandom was trying
the
to get
fandom found it.
renewed. Yeah.
They will find any piece of Young Justice content that you put out.
It wasn't in the top 10 anymore, so they were trying to bump up whatever content they could.
No, like actually, that's probably what happened.
But with Fallout next week, just to put this in here as well, as we decided we're going to talk about Memento, which is a Christopher Nolan directed movie. And the reason why we're doing that is because Christopher Nolan's brother, Jonathan Nolan, wrote Memento, and he's directing the first 3 episodes of Fallout as well. So that's our little segue into talking about the fresh and forgotten next week. But yeah, stay tuned for that. Pretty good episode here.
Yeah.
Really made me excited to watch more of Young Justice, to be honest.
I'm glad that I could convince you with my enthusiasm for the show.
But yeah, stay tuned next week, guys, for Fallout and Memento. Thanks for tuning in to the Expired Popcorn podcast. Again, I am Stone.
And I'm Zach.
And we'll see you guys next week.